Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome on the Cartoon News. My name is David SERERO, and today is a very, very special day, ladies and gentlemen. A day that happens to you one in a lifetime, really. For all our wonderful auditors on iTunes Radio, iTunes Podcast, and also SoundCloud, we have the one and only, the incomparable Rose Hartman. For the people who don't know her, I'm sure there are one or two people in Alaska who don't know who is the wonderful Rose Hartman. She's a legendary photographer, and today there is also a fantastic filmmaker. His name is Mr. Otis Mas. You see, I'm cracking my accent. I'm cracking my English because I'm so happy. And they both did this first-class documentary that is called The Incomparable Rose Hartman that is showing at the Doc NYC, the best film festival of documentaries in New York. So today, please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Rose Hartman. How are you, my dear Rose?
I'm really so happy today because actually last night was the premiere, and Doc New York City is actually the largest film festival of documentary films in the country. So it's far more extensive than simply being the best in New York. So I was so thrilled to be able to watch the film with 200 persons who had purchased tickets, and the film was sold out. And just to hear the reaction, because we had a Q&A, Otis and I were on the stage fielding questions. It was really impressive.
Well, I bet it is. Otis, I have a question for both of you, and forgive me for this question because it's a question that I ask to all the people that I had the honor to interview, because there is nothing more exciting for a very famous person such as the two of you are to introduce themselves. So I want to know, Rose, how would you describe yourself? And also one thing that a lot of people want to know, what brought you to become a photographer?
My God, in one sentence or less?
You have, this is your show. You have as long as you want.
Well, I've always been interested in aesthetics and style. And although I had been a high school English teacher for the early part of my career, I yearned to do something that would really express my interest. And so I started with a book called Birds of Paradise, an intimate view of the New York fashion world. And I got to meet people like Ralph Lauren, who would be in his studio in the Garment Center on 7th Avenue, fitting a model. And this back, behind the scenes fascinated me because I thought this was a world that very, very few people knew about. And I might add, photographers were not interested in photography.
Bless you, my dear. Bless you. Another one? Go ahead. Bless you, my dearest. Bless you. That's what the French people, they bring an effect to...
At any rate, I started doing this in 1979, along with going to Studio 54 at night. And then I was hooked because my pictures started being published all over the world. And there was nothing more exciting than opening, let's say, Vanity Fair and seeing my iconic photo of Bianca Jagger on her white horse celebrating her birthday at Studio 54, along with Mick Jagger and Baryshnikov and Halston, etc. So there it was. I mean, some people might be heroin addicts, but I think I'm a photo addict.
Yeah, you are. The same question for you, Otis.
Introduce myself.
Yes. And what brought you to filmmaking?
Hi, I'm Otis. I'm the director of The Incomparable Rose Hartman, and what brought me to filmmaking was realizing how very difficult it would be to have a career as an actor, and having my father tell me that I needed to have a backup plan, so of course I'm going to be a director. And that's what brought me to filmmaking, but what brought me to this film, which is my first feature, was a 20-year career as a director of music videos and commercials, national, international, etc. So I'm an overnight sensation that took 20 years to create.
Wow, congratulations. You know, it made me think of Gene Hackman, you know, the actor, that he wanted to be, he wanted originally to be a painter. And he said, let me have a day job. And he decided to be an actor as a day job. Can you believe? So that made me think of him. So if I had to describe you, my dear Rose, because, again, I'm a huge, huge fan of your work, I will say that your signature in the photograph world would be to take a big star and to make him look like he's a total anonymous. And a total anonymous person making him as a big star. I would like to know your thoughts about that.
I had actually never heard that, and I think it's rather interesting, to put it mildly. I think what I have tried to do, let's say Mick Jagger was at the studio, and he was wearing a white linen suit, and he was 32. And although there were perhaps 300 people there that night celebrating Bianca's birthday, he was standing very quietly with a glass of wine. I did not interfere with his space, but I looked to show a bit of intimacy.
Yeah.
I think that's the word that I would rather use, not to say to make them known or unknown, but again, obviously I was attracted to him because beautiful, but so extraordinarily talented. But something about him at that moment made me pick up my camera. You have to understand that nobody ever directed me to shoot someone, so it was always my choice. And I would only shoot that person, whether it was Catherine Deneuve at a MoMA film evening. I would just pick up the camera because I felt attracted, and I have to say that is always the key to my work. I cannot photograph someone I'm not attracted to. That's male or female, but on an aesthetic level.
And one thing, if you allow me to say, is that in your photo, I mean, there were some photographers who took some photos of Studio 54, of that, what is for me the golden age of New York. But when you were taking it in picture, we could feel the party around. You know what I mean? We can even hear the music. I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but that's really what I thought. And I want to congratulate Otis, because the way you show the pictures on the movie, you put them with a pellicula, around in such a way, and you did some Ken Burns by going up and down, that you've been able to keep the energy that is around the photo and around your subject. Do you have a word about that, Otis?
I do, but very quickly about Rose is the reason why what you said about her taking celebrities and making them feel anonymous or something. It's actually, she was attracted to beauty, and she was shooting beauty, and it didn't matter if they were a nobody or a celebrity. So that's what she was, in my opinion, truly after. So she didn't make a distinction. If it was an ugly celebrity, she wasn't necessarily shooting them. She captured beauty. The film, we wanted to give it a treatment that was interesting, that was germane to the subject, and not not boring. Something that was a little fresh, and it's very meta to show the slides and how she marked them up, and we just loved that. And my editor, Ian Mayer, who is really the co-writer of this story as well, an amazing guy, also did all of the visual effects and graphic design, and so he really executed that in a way that was beyond my expectations. So I'm also very thankful and surprised and very happy with how that worked. But of course, I knew what he was capable of.
Absolutely. Thank you, Otis. What do you think about how you were able to capture that golden age? And do you think that there will ever be that innocence that there was you guys cannot see, but I see the answer on Rose's face, that that there will be ever again what happened. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to witness it, but how did that happen? And I want to say really, Rose, before you answer me, that I cannot thank you enough, my dear, for having created what I will call a time capsule. And I think we hear it even in the documentary. Somebody said, I forgot who, sorry, said, that it was really a time capsule, really. Tell me what you think of that before I have two more questions for you, my dear Rose.
There will never, ever be another time like Studio 54. And I love the image that you used, the golden age. I had not thought about that. Because remember, right outside Studio 54 was just a horrible, horrible neighborhood. Rather, shall we say... Yes, exactly. And but nobody seemed to notice, because also basically I always said, I would be with my camera, take the subway from the West Village, shoot, dance, leave, take a taxi home. So it wasn't as if I was strolling around, at 2 a.m. But no matter who opens a club, it's gone. The innocence is gone. Now there's always a sign behind the quote-unquote celebrities saying, drink this beer or buy this blah, blah, blah. And there's security, and there are PR people who are directing everything. So what is gone and forever is the spontaneity of, again, that Calvin Klein would be there and Farrah Fawcett there and Andy there and Marissa Berenson, but nobody was surrounding them. So it was all, I would say, 100% access for me.
One thing I want to say regarding the future of the world of photography, I believe that the fact, and I would love to know your thoughts on it, and also your thoughts as a filmmaker, that I believe that the fact that we don't use film anymore, I think it killed a little bit the authenticity of the action of what's going on. I believe today, since it's digital, we manipulate a little bit too much the image in a way. So I would like to ask you, what do you think in the evolution of the world of photography?
Well, now everything is photoshopped, so of course there's no naturalism. And I think people will always make the comment, my God, your photos look real. And they were. I mean, Photoshop did not exist. And basically when I started shooting, I was shooting a black and white film, and then I moved to color slides. So how can you even speak about that versus today, where you take 10,000 images in 5 seconds and probably you'll get one that works.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And as a filmmaker, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think throughout history, every art era has had a certain style, but it also depended on the tools that were available. And so photography has become more accessible, more commonplace. So I would be looking towards the next Rose Hartman to come from the virtual reality world, or because I think we're beyond basic content. So someone at the Q&A last night asked Rose, how can I get to where you are today? Any tips? And she couldn't give any, for good reason, because...
Thank you, Otis. Well, I believe if someone asks you how to become a photographer, it's because they are not a photographer. I don't think, Rose, that you became a photographer because you say, oh, what am I going to do today? It was a need. You had to. You had to go out there. You had to chase the beauty. It was vital. I believe that's how you feel. So one question, my dear Rose. If you meet Rose Hartman, what would you like to tell her?
I think that you work very, very hard to achieve some of your goals, which are not at all achieved yet. And that you did create some very beautiful images, and it wasn't easy to do.
believe a lot of time. I want to say also that this documentary, for me, the only documentary that is at least at the level of what I saw is the September issue, because the rhythm that he had, the way everything was shown, the interview were conducted, there was not a second that I look around or look at my phone or look on the side. I was 100% captivated by the filmmaking, the editing, but also the subject and the wonderful personality. So one last question for each of you. I'm going to start with you, Rose. You ready?
Of course.
What would you like to do when you grow up?
Well, seriously, after making thousands of images, I would like to have my work at a major museum anywhere in the world. It could be London or Lisbon or Paris, although I'm not sure about Paris at this moment. It scares me. But having a retrospective, and in fact last night, just as I was leaving the theater, I didn't know this young man who came over and he said, "So where is your retrospective?" And I thought, well, so that's my goal at this moment. And of course to have the film well received, hopefully around the world. I mean, I'd love to have it open in London, for example.
Of course, yeah, and I think this is a documentary that can be shown in everything that has to do also with the world of fashion. Because I tell you that because a lot of our editors, they are either investors or producer or theater owners. It's very much oriented toward the industry world. So if some of you have either a theater or own a movie theater, you want to show the incomparable Rose Hartman documentary, you would not regret, because everywhere it has been played, it has been sold out. So if you want to build a second movie theater, you want to show this amazing documentary, and in a general way, everywhere you see the word and the name of Rose Hartman, this is the place where your $1 could turn into $2 very easily. The same question to Mr. Otis Mas. What would you like to do when you grow up?
Well, it's funny, people's priorities change. People go through life. I'm not looking for fame or money, or at this point, I'm looking for a career in which I'm able to make things that I'm as proud of as this film. If it's good, the money will come. It's not the goal, and otherwise, I would like to find my my better half, hopefully, and have a great life that balances filmmaking with also living life itself rather than documenting it.
Well, I think on this beautiful word we can conclude a wonderful interview. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart Rose Hartman, who took some time, and God knows schedule, especially after the opening yesterday on that great film festival called Doc NYC. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank Mr. Otis Mas for putting together this amazing film. It's even more than a documentary. It's a film, really, for me. It's a piece of art, at least, for sure. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is David SERERO, and I had the pleasure today to have on the Carlton News, which you can hear us on iTunes Radio, iTunes Podcast, and SoundCloud, the incomparable, the title is so well chosen, Rose Hartman and Mr. Otis Mas, the filmmaker of this amazing documentary. Thank you so much, Rose, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Otis. And I want you guys to know that the doors of these shows are yours 24/7. This is yours. You take the mic anytime. It is yours. It belongs to you. I love you. It's really an honor. Thank you so much for being you and for your amazing work, which will pass it to generations and generations. Thank you a million times. Take care.